So, man, a lot going on. A lot going on. The summit is set. We have signed a contract yesterday with the Francis Marion Hotel, which is Charleston's Grand Dame or Grand Dame. It's the big old hotel that everyone stayed in. Elvis Presley, John F. Kennedy. We've taken a huge, I heard you guys when you said 75, 75, we're going to get 100. Great. Let's work as a community to get there. We have secured a ballroom that will hold that many and more. With ancillary meeting rooms, it's going to be really cool. We have also, so that's September 29th, 30th, and October 1st. We are standing up a committee. I think it's fully, I think I had a bunch of people say, I want in. That's going to set the agenda, help work through the agenda logistics of the summit. And the theme is building an advisory business. Right, Larry? I said that right?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. That's
how about building.
I didn't get a harumph from that guy.
How about building a profitable advisory business?
We love it more. Love it more. Yep. I love it. Words matter, it turns out. So that's kind of thing one. Thing two is we're about to release tomorrow. We are going to release a bunch of tweaks to clarity. Some tightening up things like, which I think I've mentioned before, things like everywhere we talk about the calculation of value, we've added a line that says value for this industry is calculated based on blank, gross revenues or net income per ans EBITDA. I know net income and EBITDA aren't the same thing. I'm going to get emails, but we speak CEO speak here at Growth Drive. So, but a bunch of cool changes, including Eric, who is not on this call. Eric Owen came to me with an idea for a simple little graph, a simple little chart that tracks, that you can put manual inputs, and it tracks the impact of increasing strategic capacity and revenues, the relevant revenue, right, on value over a 5-year period, years 1 through 5. It's really cool. So you can have a conversation on, let's say we don't grow revenues at all, but we increase strategic capacity. Now the 5 of us know that if you increase strategic capacity, revenues are going to pop. The data is clear on this. But if we're talking to our client, so where will we use this? It is in 2 disconnected locations. One is at the bottom of the equity value planner. The other is on the second tab of simulator. We have the full financial simulator, and then the second tab that does the what if scenarios. It's there as well. And there, when I say disconnected, we will say, okay, well, if you filled out one, let's pre-populate the other. For right now, I've just left them separate, and that's the way it is. What else are we doing? We also are standing up a committee. This was on the suggestion from several members. First, I believe, was Eric Owen also, on the future of the profession, right? What does it look like? What does it mean to be a growth advisor? And how do we start viewing this through the lens of a profession? Because it's different than being a management consultant, right? We are certainly not unicorns, but we are uniquely qualified and capable to help clients increase strategic capacity and revenues, and thereby transferable value. So what does that mean? And so 2 committees, really excited. Who doesn't get excited about a committee, right? What else is going on? Larry, I've had like 3 hours of sleep. Sydney is...
Oh, well, the certification course.
Yep. The certification course about to be released. Really excited. Made huge inroads. Actually worked on that much of the day yesterday on getting it finalized. It's a 16 hours of coursework is a lot of work. It's for, to get it ready to go. Really excited.
And we have to go through that? Do we have to go through that?
Twice for you, Michael. Twice.
Yeah. Well, like I know you're going to go through it anyhow. You don't have to do anything. Right? So, but you will absolutely have access to it.
Do you have credentials, or is there like a three?
It is the credential is the C3D. So we have a path for
3D.
C3D. How do we, so here's, it's a little bit of a pop, right? How do we have a credential that actually stands out in this alphabet soup that we all have after our names? How do we have something that's like, what the heck is C3D? You know, it's like, what the hell is Kaizen?
It sounds like that robot on Lost in Space.
C3PO. And you will see, I have a C3PO cut out. It'll probably be right here next time we meet.
Got it.
So C3D. And then maybe we can kick this around a little bit. We are also answering a question that the market already has about other credentials that we want to make sure we address up front. And that is, how does the market know? So Larry is new to Growth Drive. He has just completed the C3D certification. Mike is Growth Drive Member of the Year, ladies and gentlemen. And a ton of work. Listen, Garrison. and how do we differentiate? How do we tell the market how experienced you are? And the way to do that is by doing, right? We are committed to increasing strategic capacity for $1 trillion or more of private businesses. So how do we say, well, Mike has done a lot of that, and Larry, he's a newbie, he's committed, but he's done relatively little within this community, right? We, giving credit for your life experience, that's what vanity degrees are for.
Hey, George.
Hey, Mike.
Because I got to peel off for that really awesome strategic partner conversation of mine, which is going to be great, not so much. I have to peel off at 9:50. I wanted to throw something out there about credentials, and it's my opinion and an observation, right?
Yeah.
Having had a lot of different titles and shit, most of which I gave myself, and experienced all the benefit thereof, right? So here's the deal, right? When I so you can look at the different certifications that are available in our industry, which is Growth Drive, exit planning, la. There's a dramatic differentiation in two parts. So the vast majority of certifications, which is why they suck, are based upon some faux concept that it's going to make you more credible, it's going to help you market, none of which is true. You're either good at sales or you're not, and most of you are not. So there you go, right? So that's the truth. The other types of credentials, so if you look at financial services, there's two dominant ones. There's Certified Financial Planner, and there's a CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst. There's a big, and I mean a big difference between the two. I'm not disparaging either. I think the CFP has become relatively essential if you're in the financial services industry, especially if you're younger. But the CFA, as someone who's been in the industry for 30 years, is credible because of the coursework, because of what it actually requires you to do. My encouragement to you and to the community is to jettison all the bullshit marketing concepts about this credential meaning anything to a potential client, because it doesn't unless you get a good appointment. Instead, focus on the credibility of the coursework and what is demanded of the participant, and how that coursework, specifically the biz dev part, how it will, because I kind of like that part, how it will actually drive success. Because our people in Growth Drive, we have to do our own freaking Growth Drive.
Yep. Yeah, we have to do Growth Drive on our advisory businesses.
Yes.
So Mike, really good.
Makes me a salesperson.
And that's it, George. Is this credential going to require annual or biannual CE to maintain?
Okay, so you just asked the question that I think Mike Garrison was driving at. Right. Here's my CE. I'm an attorney, right? And the ABA says you have to maintain, and I stopped a long time ago. I told them they were number one, and a long time ago. CE can serve a couple of purposes. And for many organizations, it's a way to continue to generate revenue, right? It's like, hey, we're important, we're relevant, and you want to use our credential. And if you want to use our credential, you have to keep coming back and paying us every year. And we're going to use continuing education as the vehicle for you to pay us. You're gonna get a benefit. You're gonna get some value. You're gonna get some value from it. And we're gonna. I know I'm not gonna disparage though, because for some organizations it's really meaningful. And within certain CE programs, there are certain topics and speakers who deliver this much, and others who stand and read slides that were prepared by AI, and it's very different experience. So full circle, Mike. I do not want to tell people that they have to sit at their desk and watch me explain a concept, or watch Larry talk about leadership, or to Joe talking about coaching. That is not what we're going to do. What we're saying is we are doers, and we are going to demonstrate that we are doers. So there is no requirement. However, we're going to incent people to do 5 things. So those 5 things are the C3D. You get some points. You participate in the summit, because our summits aren't sitting in the dark watching slides click by. Or you better have your coffee and the sleeves rolled up, right? They're super fun. Participate in the summits, and I'm going to incent that people participate in 2 summits every 3 years. I'm not going to force them. I'm not going to say, well, you can't call yourself a C3D. We're not going to go down that road. I'm really interested in you guys gaining and demonstrating experience and expertise. And we are a community. So what else can you do? Thought leadership, podcasts, articles, case studies. We're going to incent with points case studies. And there's a 5th that right now on my addled 3 hours of sleep mind.
Still, you make money.
But all of these, submitting a case isn't going to cost you a dime, right? Participating in the summit, as it does for everyone, will cost a little money, right? They're bloody expensive to put on.
George, I think I think regardless of what ideas have become a part of the mix of requirements over time, is the bar be very high. And Mike, George and I spent some time talking about this and really want to shape it the right way. The bar has to be high.
Yeah.
And this is not value builder where you have low-level tools, but a marketing
machine,
full marketing effort.
Yeah, it's not real marketing. It's just branding bullshit. That's all it is.
This is not that. This is really elevating. And this idea comes from people like Eric Owen, Carl Cox, you, me, others, is to elevate this profession into something that people want to be a part of, need to be a part of. And so we want to shape this the right way, and it just began. It's just conversations.
Yeah. And the bar is pretty high. What I did want to do, so there's no end, right? Mike, Garrison, thank you. I'll talk to you in a little while.
Sorry for having to run, but I got contractors in the house.
I got a thing. Have fun.
So, who is Mike Garrison? I never met him before. Is he?
Mike is the author of a book, Can I Borrow Your Car? 1 second.
Oh, I think I have that book.
Yeah, I have, here we go. I have stacks of them.
Thanks, Joe.
The author of Can I Borrow Your Car? Mike is...
I'm going to interrupt. George, I use his methodology. In fact, I'm emailing Tim Rhodey that...
Mike Desiato, I'll send you a book.
And I've been using it, and I think it makes a difference.
So he is the authority on on executing a successful sales process. Boom. In executing a successful sales process driven by referrals, by an intentional referral program and process. And the reason Mike and I get along like this is that, we talk about creating strategic COIs,
Right.
Mike, with different terms, is really focused on creating strategic COIs. And I, I could talk for the rest of the morning about that, but that's who he is. And he and I have become, when you meet people in life and you become instant, you just get each other. Mike and I have become good friends. He is very often the first guy to call me at 6:30 in the morning or earlier. And to the point where my wife calls him my work boo. And so Mike's a great guy, deeply committed to the future of the profession. Now, Mike Garrison's specific expertise is in the wealth management industry. So he is very active at EPI. In fact, he is running a program that I won't pretend to really understand, but it is a business development program that EPI is putting on that is loosely based on the LX Council. And he's collaborating with Tina Corner-Stoltz on this, and Tina's great. Anyhow, they're building these referral networks. I don't know enough to have an opinion about how successful that will be, but we are all about referral based sales, and that's another area we are leaning into because we are attracting wealth advisors. Essentially, none of those wealth advisors want to be twos, right? Maybe a few of them want to be threes, or they want to lean into being threes. Essentially, none of them. There's the attorney, right? I'm never going to be no absolutes. Listen, none of them want to be threes. None of them want to be fours. And my gosh, do they not want to be fives? So how do we take twos, connect them with you guys, the three of you, and say, okay, well, here's and now we get to the path to mastery, right? So if it takes 1,000 points to be a master, how does a wealth advisor say, well, I have I want to understand why I might talk to Mike Desiato before I talk to Larry Prince, or vice versa. And by being able to share your points with the world in the community, then that's gonna drive it. And one more comment: we are talking to some household name enterprise level organizations. They all have there's risk at several levels. And imagine, Wirehouse A says, okay, great. We have tens of thousands of business owning clients, or RIA, an RIA with $2 billion under management. We have all of these businesses as clients. We have their personal wealth. We want to be relevant to their largest asset, et cetera. But we need, before we start introducing Joe Lorenz into our client, to our financial advisor, and through our financial advisor to the client, we want to know that Joe Lorenz is going to behave and is going to bring value and is not going to embarrass us. And the risk is to their brand. The risk is to the person running the program. They have personal reputational risk, right? And the FA has risks. So by having the C3D and the path to mastery, and the fact that you are active, the people can see that you are an active expert and understand what you bring, and that you've taken the pledge, right? Remember the advisor pledge. I'm not gonna gick up your relationship with this client. Then we are going 80% of the way to assuaging that reputational risk. And it's very important. It's part of every conversation that I have with these larger organizations. That's great, George. Love what you're doing. How can this bite us in the butt? And I say, huh? Well, so long-winded answer to a simple question. That'll make sense?
Ed and I have a meeting with a longtime acquaintance. He was an investor in my business. He's an accountant named Sam, and Sam has agreed to the last 6 months to give us a referral, right? And he's got 2 people in mind. And, it's that every conversation's, we're just getting closer. We're getting closer. And so it's I hear some people talk about kind of writing off the CPA firms, unless they're this particular guy has a strategic arm of the CPA firm that they're looking to, promote management consulting work, whatever. So we got a meeting with him on Wednesday, and I've went out and got a wealth planner guy that he knows, respects, a attorney from another merger M&A focused attorney. And we're bringing it together, trying to follow this, a lot of the talks in here is saying, could we have an executive series of talks that we promote within our client base, and they're likewise. So we have this build up, kind of rules of engagement and who's responsible for what. And I'm just curious, has anyone else tried this, and what are the top 3 things, the deal killers, if you will, on something like this?
So the top 3 deal
That's really strong, but
so the top 3 deal killers, I want to make sure I understand the question correctly. The top 3 deal killers to having several advisor or potential deal killers to having several advisors in the room.
Presenting, it's an 18-month program. We're going to take a rotation of topics, and then each, all 5 of the sponsors will be presenting. Obviously, that's too long of a hitch, so we'll do it on a rotating basis. But talk to me.
Well, I'm trying to do something like that, Bob, Joe. I'm trying to do something like that now with RBC's a group of RBC wealth managers. I guess these wealth management companies have their own little groups put together. But there's a group down here that wants to do that with me and have a series of webinars for their clients to talk about, building transferable value in their businesses. Because what they do, they're part of the environment is that they help these business owners articulate their financial goals. This is what I need. This is where I need to be when I walk away from my business. And they have the tools, and that's what they do. And I told them, look, what I do is different than what you do, but I need you to be able to put that number out there, right? And I hate to be an accountant, but I can't resist. But
you are. Yeah, go ahead.
But they need to know. They need to know what that goal is and how much of that goal needs to come from their business. Or if they don't have that view and that's that insight, then they don't know. They're on a journey with no destination. They just don't know where to wind up, and they're praying and hoping that when they do want to sell, if they do sell, that they get what they need. But so I'm kind of putting together something with them to kind of put a series again of webinars on for their clients to talk about that, and they're open to it. But I try with other wealth management outfits, including the big banks, and they all nod their head and say, yes, oh yeah, let's get back to you. And it's crickets. They just don't. And I think I've come to the conclusion, rightfully or wrongfully, that I think that most of those folks, even though they've gotten their SEPA designation, because that's, a lot of these big organizations like Wells Fargo, PNC, UBS, Merrill Lynch, they're making they're forcing their folks, I think is the right word, to get the SEPA designation so they could have some kind of marketing credential out there to say, well, look, we're certified exit planning advisors. But they all got it, but they don't do it, nor are they interested in getting people involved in doing it, because it's not part of their compensation plan.
Boom. Yeah.
Not tied to their comp. So
Okay. That's the key.
They have goals they have to meet to get advanced and to make money. And this is not on their screen. This is not a strategic imperative for them. So they don't do it. They just don't do it. And it's frustrating. I've given up. Although once in a while I come across groups like the one I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I want to do this, but for the most part, it's just
talk. And Mike and Joe, George and I talk about this all the time. We fall into the trap of interesting talk. Excited. At the end, it goes nowhere. I'm tired of it. I have fallen into the trap over and over again. Well, don't focus on accounting firms. Don't focus on banks. Go to wealth management. You know what? The answer to me is any of them is good if their incentive is based upon the type of growth that is our incentive. When incentives align, it could be a marketing firm. It could be an investment bank. It for whatever reason, once in a while, one of them pops up and wants to do something different in the market. I finally, after banging my head against the wall, and George and I together went to Aprio, Eisner. I finally found an accounting firm that found me, actually, that wants to seriously be involved in growth. And they bought a fractional CFO company. They got a leadership person already. I'm doing business strategy through Growth Drive and a peer group, and they're excited. They're energized. They proved it already. We held marketing events. We got one next week again, and
is that a CEO one-shot marketing event? Said the infomercial.
Yeah,
well, love that.
it's here's a great opportunity. I quit on accounting firms, Joe, but so I didn't remind them.
Yeah.
Every time I'm out there and I talk to someone, I learned a new question. And that question is, based upon what I do, who do you think I should be meeting with? So I met a guy at an Association for Corporate Growth, and just with that new approach. So we sat for lunch one day. We don't connect. Our incentives don't line. I said, who do you think I should meet with? He says, Brian. I said, connect me with Brian right now. I'm on the phone with Brian. By the end of the day, we connect, and he says, Larry, I am a insurance guy, business insurance. I would love to help you. Can I share, if I do the business development, I'm friends with an accounting firm, top in the accounting firm. We get together. Before we know it, the accounting firm is saying, we want this and need this. I just keep finding that every time I show up and then ask the right question, and not like I got to feel and say no to people right away, but ask, who should I be meeting with? Wall bouncing. Before I know it, within 6 months, I found this group. So I'm sorry, Joe. I was just going off here a little bit, but my part of this is what you said. You got to ask the question, where does this fit in? Hey, love the conversation, Jane. Love Joe. John. Love the conversation. How does this fit into your priorities, to your incentive, to what makes you look really good? Where does this fit in?
And it's a priority. Interesting. As a comment, we see commercial bankers especially be red hot at the beginning of in those first conversations, like, wow, I've got a live one here. They get shot down 1 or 2 levels of management up. They're going to get told, shut up, stay in your lane. That's not what makes us money. And on a macro level, you have some of the big wealth management houses saying, we've invested millions of dollars in credentialing, et cetera, and we haven't seen any return in terms of revenues. And so is this a wise investment? Larry, you make a fabulous point. Larry, what was the advice your father gives?
I know what I told you the other day. Something like interest is fool's gold, or interest is bullshit.
Yeah, those conversations are bullshit.
Conversations are bullshit. That's basically it. Yeah, conversations are bullshit. Because when I started my own business, he was a great business guy. I learned a lot from him. And I come back from something, and here I am, 52 years old at the time, 12 years ago.
This is critical. So you shifted your career in your mid-50s.
Yes.
Yeah.
I left Big Pharma, even though I had been in my own business in my 20s with my father. Then I went Big Pharma 23 years, came out and said, I'm going to go back in my own business and consult. And I went to seminar after business seminar and then conference and all this stuff. And I come back with all these business cards, right? And nothing. And then he says, you don't get it, Larry. You're mistaking interest for need. You got to go to these conferences and find just one person you connect with, have a deep conversation, ask the right questions, and put out an idea and say, hey, is this really matter to you? And so that changed. It took me a long time then to leave myself to find the right people. It took years.
You know what's interesting? That, and Larry, Larry knows that I was in violent agreement with that assessment. I'm going to the AMNAA conference here in a couple of weeks. It's out in Scottsdale. It's going to be great. I am going as a participant, in the same way as I went to the BEI conference 2 years ago as a participant. And I came out of, the truth, I came out of my walk-in at BEI, and I anticipate coming out of my walk-in with the AMNAA with the same number of bona fide opportunities as if I were a sponsor. And a lot of people mistake having a booth. In a booth, you're spread really thin, right? You're like, hey, George Salmon. Hey, I've got a book. I've got software. We have a whole system. We have a process. You're telling 100 people this much. It's what by sponsoring, and why do we sponsor then? Because we're sponsoring the AMA's July conference. We sponsor because a long-term commitment to an organization ends up ramping up. After a while, people get used to seeing you, as we did with NACFA, as we have with the IEPA, et cetera. Larry, that's great. So bringing that full circle to Joe, to make it work, my advice would be, whose client is it? So I'll be very clear behind closed doors, whose client it is, our role, how we're going to communicate with each other, and specifically what we're not going to do. And the not doing goes to giving strategic advice that we haven't vetted. It's like, Desiato here might say, well, that's great advice, Joe. You know what the tax implications are? You're like, what tax implications? Like, well, probably just cost the client a few $1 million. And they're not going to be happy. You just muffed up this, we have to now go fix. I'm not saying that you would do that, Joe, but I'm just using it as example. So whose client is it? What is our objective? What is our common objective? Who does what when? And how are we going to communicate as a group, essentially as a peer group, on these client cases? That would be my advice for what you paid for. Well, you and Ed are deeply experienced. Just have a plan, man. A plan.
One of the objectives too is to have a regular scheduled. This is almost a wolf in sheep's clothing, but it's really a matter of trying to get some advisors together to deliver a solution, learn more about each other, and actually, it's not necessarily the end goal is to let's get together a really good put together presentation and deliver some value, but get to know each other's firms. Like one of the financial planner guys, Lifetime Financial Growth, Tom Wyatt. Tom just became president of this organization at Pittsburgh, and I don't really know him. Ed does, but how can we as a group work together and then actually co-market sort of just by sense of being together? So this is kind of a similar, we're trying to create a regular schedule meeting of getting together to share our stories, but also network informally and become better at what we're doing. So is it teaching? Is it networking? Is it client acquisition? I may have to be more clear about that. So help me out.
It's interesting, Joe. It seems to me that if you guys as a group, excuse me. All right, I'm not going to sneeze uproariously here. If you guys as a group use clarity, and let's just use a level 1 clarity case, right? To sit as a group and run a case through clarity and go through each question. and have everybody say, you know, and there need to be some guidelines, like not if you're tangentially important, but if one of the growth driving objectives, there are 25 of them, the 24 inside the methodology, and the 25th is time to market. But if you have specific expertise in to direct specific expertise to these 24, let's write down, like, you know, Bob can advise about this, and Jane can, you know, Jane is an expert about that, and there you'll find overlap, right? But if you guys deconstruct your expertise through the lens of the 24 growth driving objectives, that can be, I mean, heck, that's the basis for a study group right there. You know, Larry, what do you think of that idea?
I think it from two views. I got a call
today
from Brian, who calls me. He's the guy who introduced me to the accounting firm. He goes, Larry, I got a new idea. He names 5 people, him, me. He's a business development guy, right? I'm business strategy and leadership and sales structure. He names Josh, who's in accounting. He names a banker, and he names a marketing, real advanced marketing guy. He goes, let's become a team, COI team of 5, and let's then, through all his contacts, he literally has 140 members in his business development, create a value series for CEOs and executives, meaning his idea is, and we can monetize it, is that if you think like a CEO, you think like an executive, what do they need? So we broke that down this morning to building value, to better financial management. There was about 5. And so each one of us will benefit, and we're aligned, but we don't compete. We're additive. We encompass the expert, trusted advisor world for that business. That's one. And Joe, the other, where you were going is really good, Joe. In December, based upon Mike's book, my conversation with Mike Garrison and George and a couple others, I brought my COIs together for holiday dinner. And we got together early, 5 o'clock. We didn't get out of there till like 8:39. And every one of them came prepared to say, in 2025, this is where I'm focusing my business. This is where I need to grow. As an attorney, a banker, a marketing expert, Jack Cox, who's a exit planner and financial management. There were 6 of us there. One couldn't make it. And the idea was, not until as COIs we understand what Joe needs and Mike needs and Larry needs and what our goals are and the type of people we need to meet, can we really help each other. It's nebulous. I don't have a motivation to help Joe because I don't know what you really do, how it matters to me, how it matters to you, and who you need to be meeting. And what we did is we went around. It was kind of tedious, and everyone had 20 minutes to talk about their business, what they need, and how you guys in the room could help me. And it was a home run. And now we all sit conscious about helping each other.
Hey, George, can I share my screen for a minute?
Please.
Love that.
I think you guys are talking about this, right?
Yes.
Yes.
This is essentially what, in the exit planning world, we kind of preach, right?
Right.
It's basically, the owner's in the middle, right? And you have the professionals around them, but, and the exit planning professional is supposedly the quarterback, if you will, of the team, right? So this is, conceptually, this is what we're all talking about. We're trying to, and what's really challenging, and from my perspective, is to get everyone to buy into this concept that we're going to step out of our individual silos, right? And we're going to be open to working with others. And we don't necessarily have to be the one in charge of everything all the time. And that gets very difficult for a lot of these professionals, especially the attorneys in the group and CPAs and stuff like that. They feel like they have to be totally involved and totally in charge of the entire process. But you have to be able to step out of your silos and say, look, we're all going to work together, right? And our goal is to make sure the business owner, their goals become our goals, collective goals. And we're going to coordinate and we're going to talk and we're going to, we're going to organize ourselves to make sure we get that done. But this is basically the whole underpinning of a lot of this exit planning training it's a different, professional firms have always been specialized: accounting, audit, tax, legal, insurance. Everybody has their lanes, and this is blowing it up and saying, no, yes, I mean, you are an expert. You're an industry expert or you're a subject matter expert, but we all have to like bring that to the table and put our egos to the side and now together, right? And now we're together saying, our goal is to accomplish what the business owner's goals are, not what we want to happen, not what's in our best interest, right? And so that's the challenge. I think that's kind of the essence of the challenge that we have. It's a kind of new professional concept, right? Because you don't have a firm that's out there that has all these professionals in it. You don't have it. I mean, everyone's in their own little group, right? But anyway, that's.
Yeah, I love this slide. I mean, this is a BEI slide from 2010.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, which is, that's John Brown, who invented exit planning. Mike, I'm really appreciate you bringing this up, because when we think about exit planning, this is absolutely true. And it goes to Joe's point and Larry's points about, how do we coordinate our work for the client's good. Larry brought up, Larry is focused on, the 83% of the market that isn't thinking about an exit, right? 17% are thinking about an exit. 83% are trying to grow their business or make it easier to run.
Right.
And heavily loaded, 62% of the total is grow my business. And all of those professionals are relevant at some point. Plugging our expertise into the ongoing, the transaction attorney can't expect to be relevant. However, they can be called on during the planning. Like if we're planning the ultimate value, right? I'm planning the future equity value of this business. A transactional attorney, a consultation with them periodically is probably a very, very good idea. Same with a transactional CPA, right? Yeah. I'm not going to we all know, right? Now, if you look inside Clarity, there's the level 1 analysis, right? Where we can say, okay, well, I'm relevant to marketing, right? I'm a marketing person. I know a bit about sales. So great. We also have in the leadership module, and something you said, Larry, a few minutes ago made me think of this. In the leadership module, we take those 24 growth driving objectives and we break them out by executive area, meaning chief executive, chief financial, chief operating, and chief revenue. And that might be a very helpful exercise for the group out of earshot of the client and then in earshot of the client, but might be also an important exercise to be like, okay, well, here's the functional area to which I am most relevant. So all of these conversations, I'd be remiss if I didn't infomercial the fact that when you're working with a wealth advisor and starting your relationship, show them the equity value planner and show them the risk analysis, which is being renamed, but show them the risk analysis. Like, listen, you have the opportunity to help de-risk the business and protect cash, which is important to the client, using advanced planning and insurance products. So a lot of great conversations that the technology and the methodology and process can help you power.
And something I have learned from you, George, too, in your interactions and others, is that, and Mike, you alluded to this, everyone at that table needs to know that we are not stealing their client.
Yes.
That whoever is the original quarterback gets to be the original quarterback. And that wealth managers are very concerned about losing control.
Yeah. They are.
Yeah. All of them are. So to be, all of them are concerned about that. And
for a lot of them, Mike, it's based on experience, right? So I now have a random sampling of 44 wealth advisors. Okay. These are senior level people. 2 for 44. We're willing.
they have batting average.
Yeah. We're willing to bring in one of us. And to a person, when asked why, they said, because you run amok in my client. And I just the risk it ain't worth it. Because what a lot of us don't appreciate, and what Mike drills is, this client has hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of dollars of value to the wealth advisor, where we are earning 100, 200,000 a year. We're earning a fraction of that. And also, we have a mortal relationship with the client, where the financial advisor has an immortal relationship with it.
It's a what do you call it? It's a revenue. It's a annuity.
It's an annuity stream.
Annuity stream that's very valuable.
But business advisors come in, they're like, and then they commit all sorts of sins that I won't get into. But they are not. We
Anything with the CPAs, George.
I'm sorry.
Same thing with the CPAs, because I was one.
Mike.
Years. The same.
Amen. Yeah.
Isn't it funny how Mike had to leave early? But this conversation is all about his book, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a great book.
So actually, what might be? And I was trying to get the oh crap. I just lost a deal.
You're pulling a George.
Yeah. Sorry, distracted. But one of the things we're thinking about, this would be the early on book that the group would go through and kind of expand a little bit if they want to play. And this might be part of this, interview them to be, not only do they, represent the market well and well thought of, but they actually have someone who's looking to try to expand the, their development, and so you could create this, more importantly, a LOI or a COI consortium, and prop that up, and the outcome is these monthly sessions. But the more importantly is the building up of them understanding how to this kind of relationship, and as a professional development tool. So that's the hook, right? And professional development, get more referrals, learn how to do it, and we're going to give you a program that you could follow and be part of it. But give me a lot to think about.
This is what I do, and this is how I view the relationship, right?
Right.
This goes to exactly why I highly recommend that wealth advisors sit for the C3D, because by sitting through the C3D, whether they choose to take I would say, if you've done that much work, take the exam, but by sitting through the course, by participating in the course, they will understand who we are and where we are going to focus, and how we care deeply about all of these things that we've just discussed for almost an hour, and we've discussed them because they're critically important. We're not, very little of what we've discussed here has been like, how the heck do I get them to bring me engagements? What I love is that this whole conversation thread has been around collaboration. How do I collaborate with a wealth advisor? How do I collaborate with a CPA? And somebody said, Larry, you said I've given up on CPAs. Larry, I sat in the name of the firm where the managing partner said, this is great, let's do it. You're a big firm, household name. And you know what happened? Another regional firm, guy pounding on the table. I'm sitting in a room with his management team around him. Leadership team. Well, no, I would say management in this case. We're going to do this. I got the shiv in the yard. Nothing. Firm after firm after firm, which after a while you're like, listen, guys. That's why I've taken I'll use my I, me, mines. I've taken a very aggressive approach with CPAs. And my opening salvo is essentially, if you are not willing to have a conversation about fundamentally changing the way your firm does business, then this conversation will probably not go anywhere, because you are not strategically committed to the result. And if you don't have the intent, then I'm not going to waste.
They're like drug addicts. They're hooked on the annual. They're hooked on the annual recurring revenue model, and it's worked well. And look, they can't complain, right? I mean, look at the equity world and then I'm buying them up. It's worked, right? So why if it's not broke, why fix it, right? So that's the mindset, because I've been there.
I totally understand and agree.
And going back to your point about, even if you take your wealth managers through your program, your C3D program, a lot of these wealth managers have been through the CEPA program as well, which preaches all this collaboration, and they still don't do it.
They don't do it
because
with CEPA. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
There's no direct financial incentive unless, and I've tried to tell them, look, there's a risk if you're not going to be and stay involved with your business owner clients' businesses throughout their business lifespan, and you think that when they sell, they're going to come and give you the money, you may be mistaken there, because you may be managing their company 401k plan right now, right? And you may be managing some of their outside of their business wealth, but when they sell their business and they get 20, 30, $40 million and an investment banker is involved, and that investment banker says to them, look, this is a lot of money, right? I'm going to manage it for you. Oh, you have so-and-so? Well, maybe they're not suited for this. And maybe you should be talking to some of my folks, right? Because they'll bring in their team. And I think that's a risk for a lot of these money managers. They think they're going to be top of mind when the business is monetized, but if they're not involved, they don't stay involved and be present throughout, they're going to be, they can be tossed aside as, you were good for my 401k plan and my small personal wealth. But now I'm graduating to the big leagues, and I need a big league. That's what my investment banker's telling me, right? Big league money manager, and I got to look at them.
So and they're really good. The investment bankers, by the way, get deals from their wealth advising buddies, so they are incented to return favor, and they're going to do but they're really good at this, and it doesn't hurt the client, right? The client is going to get good financial advice, but they're really good at saying to the spouse, hey, I know that George is really committed to, he's got a lot of loyalty to Rick, but, and they're saying to Sydney, I'm going to suggest to him, I'd love to get your feedback. How do you think George would react if I have someone more sophisticated? How do you think George would react if I introduce that? What do you think Sydney's going to come to me and say, hey, this is a lot of money. Why don't we talk to someone else? Well, they're really good at this. It's like, hey, Mike, that is a fantastic point. And I'll cap it. I stood in the boardroom with the senior leadership team of a absolute household name. One of the first, if I said name 5, this is a bona fide New York City big dog. They were losing. Now, this goes back several years. I don't think it's changed. They were losing. If they were not at the table during the deal, they were losing that client essentially always. And they were losing the AUM from the deal. And then over time, they were losing the 401k goes and the money market account. Everything it's like, it's just easier. I don't want to deal with 2 banks. And they were, and here's the thing. They were freaked out. They were cognizant. They had the data, and they did. What do you think they did? Nothing.
No pain, no change, fellas.
Nothing.
That's true.
And understanding where their pain points are. And I still have a dream that we can have a conversation with a wealth planner that puts a steak dinner bet down with the owner and says, what's your return on your portfolio? What's your return on your portfolio? Yeah. And put a stake in the ground and then find out at the end of the year what happens. And, that, for me, that's the level of interest and the level of involvement, at least at a minimum, to kind of understand how they're tracking their value and their, I told you a story of this guy. Matter of fact, we got a meeting next week. We're probably going to engage with him, selling at 20 million. Once he get 20 million out of his business, and he takes a phone call. I'm down there, 15 minutes. Yeah. Oh, great. Sounds great. Thanks. Well, that's great. Well, we'll talk to you next year. Boom. who's his financial planner. He had a portfolio of like $5 million. He was talking about how it went this year and da 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 da. And it's like this is all the time he gave him with 15 minutes, and then clicked. And it's why is it? It's like going to a dentist. There is some. I remember going to my financial guy and sitting down, and it was okay. It's once a quarter, maybe every 6 months.
Birthday card, box of cookies at Christmas.
But it's like
these are good people.
Yeah, but how do I make myself more involved in the the annual plans? And then I always thought this guy was always looking to try to get more and more a bite of the apple. So I'm always like trying to. It was a bit of a dance, right? You know, like act interested, but reality usually we're not going to have anything. They got my 401ks and they got my thing, and I'm not going to give them anything else, just like they do with banks, right?
That's right. I'm going to diversify.
So,
hey, listen, we're right at the bottom of the hour. Do you guys have time for a 10-second key takeaway? Mm-hmm. Larry, go ahead.
Key takeaway is that we don't have this type of conversation enough. How do we break through with other business advisors in that wheel, Mike, that you showed?
Yeah.
How do you have the right conversation to break through? And
Mike,
here.
Thank you.
I would echo that. I mean, I've been battling that for years now.
Yeah.
It's a never ending battle. I just don't know. I mean, we talk about it when I was running the EPI chapter down here, and now we merged. We started a different organization called the Exit Advisor Alliance, but it's the same concept. We're talking about exit plan. We always talk about, I used to put that chart up at the beginning of every meeting and say, this is where we need to be. This is how we need to work together, and everyone acknowledges it. But when push comes to shove, in real world, there's a lot of challenges to making that work. And how do you overcome those challenges? And how do you get everyone to agree to it? That's the real thing. And if we can get through that, we can figure that out. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. Joe, key takeaway?
It's got to be more than just a transaction. It's got to be around personal development. And if you really think about effective peer groups and or advisory team groups that I've run before under Vestige, it's all a matter of them sharing, like Larry talked about, them sharing their goals for the year. How can we help? And it's a band of brothers versus just seeing each other, hey, half an hour before a conference that we put together once a month. It's got to be more than that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like that band of brothers. And how do we, because we are all saying the same thing. We are all going to conferences and seeing the same thing. And my key takeaway is we all want the same result, and we all know we need each other, and we're doing a craptastic job of actualizing it. And I am personally committed to making sure that we help these privately held businesses become immortal, and it takes more than any one of us can provide. Awesome, guys. Great conversation. Have a great week. Thank you.
All right.
I won't see.
Are the Buckeyes going to cover? Are they going to cover the 5.5 or what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you guys are going
straight through. It's a show that supports.
I'm a Notre Dame fan, so we have Notre Dame State down here. And I even though I'd like to go to the game, I've had my heart ripped out numerous times watching Notre Dame come to Miami and get their asses handed to them. So I'm staying away from that game. But
it's vulnerable.
It would be great, though, because Marcus Freeman played for the Buckeyes, right? He was a linebacker.
Well, yeah.
So it would be great. It'd be a great story if he brought his team, Notre Dame, Ohio State.
It could happen.
Folks are probably loving that. But
it happened.
You know who in the 70s who the best recruiter for Notre Dame was? Woody Hayes. Because you have a choice to go to Notre Dame, Michigan, or Ohio State. If I could go Ohio State, then that Notre Dame's a great college to go to.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, that makes I didn't. That's smart. So, guys, this has been great. I won't be on another call since I have clients every Tuesday the rest of the month to February. So, always good seeing you and happy, healthy New Year.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
same to you, Larry.
So George, we gotta get together on my issue. So just send me an email when you get a chance.
I'll send you an email right now.
All right, buddy.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. Bye. Have a great day, Jeff.